Let's get ready to rumble!
A vandal has done what vandals do best and has vandalised the cross of a church in Chadwell Heath in East London. And when a story breaks like this, sometimes the right thing to do is wait for the dust to settle, because we don't know any details yet and we end up jumping to conclusions. But knowing the area, having watched the footage, on the face of it, I imagine that this person, how old does he look? 20? It's a young Asian male. I know the demographics of that area. He might be of a Muslim background. And there's a lot of tension, so we're told, at the moment between Christians and Muslims. So maybe this is an angry Muslim taking out revenge on who, for what, I don't know, smashing up a church. But I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. And this is one of those times that you want to be wrong. You don't want to imagine that religious tension in London is leading people to vandalise other places of worship. And I remember many years back, I was in East London, in Tower Hamlets, which is a very Bangladeshi area of London, and I was in a like a newsagent, and I noticed some Bengali magazines, all the writings in Bengali. I couldn't understand a word of it, and on the front cover was a picture of a young boy, and he had with him a gun, some kind of rifle, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I couldn't understand what the writing was about. I picked it up, and you start jumping to conclusions. And I bought this magazine and I used it in school to teach children, what do you think when you see that? And of course, majority of children that can't read Bengali were saying, oh, it's a terrorist. Why have you brought a terrorist magazine into school? If you flick through the magazine, it turns out that this young Bangladeshi boy on the front cover of a magazine had actually represented Great Britain and won, I think, a silver medal in the shooting at the Commonwealth Games. So appearances were completely deceiving, and it wasn't what we thought it was at all. But unfortunately, I have a very bad feeling that this footage that we've just seen, we'll play it again, is a case of religious vandalism. And you tell me if you can spot anything different. It's a church in Chadwell Heath, and it's somebody trying to break the cross. I don't know. Maybe this is one of the parishioners, and the vicar has asked him, can you please take down that cross? It's old now. But it looks to me like an example of religious hatred. And if this person does happen to be of a Muslim background, that will be a very sad representation of his faith. And you can't judge a religion by the actions of the adherents. And if you can't do that, how can you judge a religion? What do we do? Do we go to the books? Because anyone can pluck a quote out of context. I mean, I'll quote one for you now. This is Surah 22, verse 40 from the Quran, translated into English, obviously. So somebody's version of what the original Arabic says. If Allah had not driven some people back by means of others, monasteries, churches, synagogues, and mosques, where Allah's name is mentioned much, would have been pulled down and destroyed. So this particular passage that I've plucked out at random is mentioning that God's name, Allah's name in Arabic, is mentioned in the churches and the synagogues as well as the mosques. And this is an indication that places of worship should be respected and protected. That's an indication from the Quran. Now, maybe the gentleman that's trying to destroy the cross in the front of this church hasn't read that passage. Maybe he read something else. Maybe he read that and interpreted it differently. But whenever we get these clashes of religious hatred, people will start trying to smear one religion as being full of hate and another religion being better. As far as I'm concerned, there is never, apart from a few cult type movements that have a very, very strict leader, and anyone that deviates is completely excommunicated. Outside of the cult mentality, every religion has different interpretations, and even the religions themselves will acknowledge that there will be different interpretations. So we can never say one religion is completely like this. All that is fair to say is that certain individuals have interpreted their religion in an ugly way, or they've completely ignored their religion, ignored the spiritual teachings, which of every religion that I've come across is to treat others as you would wish yourself to be treated. And they've acted out the anger from inside them, the anger from their ego, which again all religions ask us to strive against. And then they've blamed their religion, or they've claimed that their religion told them to do it, or they were doing it on behalf of religion. And then society at the same time will also blame the religion. And very, very often, especially with some of the extreme Islamophobes and the extreme Islamists, they will agree about what that religion says or how that religion should be practiced. They just disagree on whether it's true or not. And some of the particularly hateful Islamists, you end up thinking, oh, thank God you didn't become a Muslim, because if you did, you would probably have ended up being a member of one of the extremist groups. And it must be very different and difficult to be stuck in the middle and be your average moderate follower of any religion. But it's always the extremists that get on the news, that grab the headline. And in America, groups like the Ku Klux Klan are obviously a very extreme version of Christianity, although we don't always make them synonymous with their faith. And maybe that's because they are part of a majority ethnic group. Bob the Builder is saying, call Christophobia what it is. Yeah, maybe we need this term, Christophobia, or hatred of Christians. But then again, because Christianity is the majority, or has been the majority religion in Christendom, the home of the English language, it's sort of something we lack a name for. A bit like in a male-dominated society, we have words for misogyny, meaning hatred of women. What's the word for hatred of men? There probably is a word, but it's not on the tip of my tongue because we don't use it that much. So we have words for Islamophobia, for anti-Semitism, and when it's a minority being attacked, it's kind of easy to define that and recognize it. But as Bob the Builder points out, maybe we need a term, Christophobia. And Christianity, I say it's the majority religion in Christendom. I wonder, is it anymore? I know most people in the UK are probably C of E or Christian, with a small c, but is being a believing, practicing Christian now a minority point of view? And do Christians then need some kind of protection from attacks like this? And yes, we must denounce it. And I wonder how the Christian community feel in Chadwell Heath. I don't know the denomination. If it's a parish church, I would guess it might be Church of England. And the Christian teachings are very clear about forgiveness and turning the other cheek. And does this make Christians a soft target for something like this? Aaron Fisher saying, was he Muslim? A Muslim told me in Hadith, it says Jesus will break the cross. Well, we spoke about that last night, actually, that there's a Hadith that says Jesus will break the cross. And I think if you take religion literally and you become a literalist, you've got a severe problem, haven't you? Because we've got literal sciences, we've got mathematics, we've got your biology, chemistry, dealing with the physical aspects of the world, the secular world, seclorum, Latin for world. And religion should be taking care of our spiritual needs. So when you get a hadith that says, and when Jesus returns, and Muslims are waiting for him to return, as are the Christians, and he's going to break the cross. If you're a literalist moron, you will think, oh, well, that means I need to go out and break the cross. If you're a deep spiritual person, you might ponder upon the meaning of that for, I don't know, a few decades and think, well, look, I don't know. Maybe it means that Jesus will clear up some confusion about what happened when he was on the cross. Did he die? Did he come back to life? What happened? Bob the Builder is pointing out that if this were done to a mosque, it would be called Islamophobia. So why shy away from calling it anti-Christian bigotry? I think you're right, Bob. I would imagine there's no other reason for this other than it being an anti-Christian act of bigotry. And we've got Avzad saying only Jesus can break the cross. Well, there you go. There's a slightly more sane interpretation of the notion of breaking the cross. But religion is allegorical. The Christians will tell you that Jesus spoke in parables. Why did he speak in parables? I suppose it was because people that were bothered to listen to the deeper meaning would actually get the meaning. Anyway, as I said, it is early days on this one. Let's not jump to conclusions, but I think a very fair, logical conclusion would be that this is most probably an act of religious hatred, and we must not condone it. We must condemn it, and let's not be partisan. Let's not be light switch thinking people on, off. When my side does it, it's right, and when their side does it, it's wrong. Just another is saying, are you from Afghanistan? No, I'm not from Afghanistan, but I have a t-shirt that says Afghanistan, and I have a lot of very good friends from Afghanistan. And there's a story of possibly Jesus after the whole crucifixion incident, whether he died or didn't die, or died and came back to life, of Jesus making his way to that region near Afghanistan, and maybe ending up in Kashmir. And there's a grave in Kashmir of someone who I think they refer to as Yus Azaf. I'm probably butchering the name, but the local people there wonder if Jesus headed to their region after he survived, as the Muslims might understand it, the crucifixion, or if you like, and you're a Christian, he resurrected. I know that people like Bob the Builder will think that's a crucial detail that Jesus died. Whether he died or not, I guess he was willing to die. And of course, Bob the Builder is predictably dismissing that as just mad. Is it mad, Bob? I don't know if it's any madder than the virgin birth, or a talking snake, or walking on water, or the fact that we evolved from apes. We all believe in a lot of crazy things. Afsad is saying, just because Jesus will end the cross, it doesn't mean Muslims can go break the cross. Exactly, Afsad. Of course it's not. And Bob the Builder is saying there is zero evidence for that belief. Well, Jesus does say, blessed are those who believe because they have seen, but more blessed are those who believe yet have not seen. So is evidence something we really take into account when it comes to faith? I don't know. I think that's the thing about religion and faith. You've got logic up to a point, but then you've got to make that leap of faith. Otherwise, we'd all be the one same religion, wouldn't we? And there's always going to be different interpretations. 33X is saying Jesus was from Pakistan. Everyone should know that. That would be a miracle, because Pakistan was invented in 1947 on the midnight on the 15th of August. And Sergio Leone is saying, we let this happen in our country. AJ is saying, well, Islam is expanding and no one is really taking Christianity seriously. That's the problem. Maybe we should take it seriously. Bob the Builder saying, if Jesus breaks the cross, Muhammad is not the final prophet. Well, Jesus came before and then he's going to come back. I don't know. You work it out. And John Overkill is joining in the discussion by saying, no new normal. Well, if Jesus comes back, it's going to be a very new normal, isn't it? He's going to bring world peace, apparently. But before that, I think Christians and Muslims agree that there will be a period of rule by the Antichrist. And you can make your own mind up about what that will look like. And I'd love to do a whole show on this and maybe get Bob the Builder's expertise on it, of what are these stories, predictions about the end times and what's going to happen, and how much do Muslims and Christians agree on. I think often we tend to focus on the disagreements. Obviously there's disagreements, that's why you've got different religions, but even religions have disagreement within them, don't they? Catholic and Protestant, Shia and Sunni. And 33X is asking, if Adam returns, would he still be the first man? And Bob the Builder is saying, we let it happen here because we ignored it when it happened elsewhere. Did we let it happen, Bob, because Christians are so tolerant and so forgiving and would rather turn the other cheek and say, slap me on this one, slap me on that one, you can have my coat, my cloak. I'm butchering the quotes, but Christians have a very, very forgiving book and set of teachings that they follow. Is that why things like this happen? And if it is, I'm assuming you agree with all this forgiveness, and maybe you're going to inherit the earth like the meek will. Apparently that's from the Bible. Aaron Fisher saying Christianity has fallen. It's a shame we have lost the UK to Muslims. Well, a religion from the Middle East taking over on the British Isles, that hasn't happened for about 2,000 years. Well, when did England, Britain, become Christian? I know that St. Patrick brought Christianity to Ireland when he was enslaved. St. Patrick was actually probably from Wales and was enslaved and brought to Ireland by the Irish pirates. Bob is saying liberals are tolerant. Tolerance is not Christian. Hospitality is Christian. Hospitality is better than tolerance. Now, there's a good debate. What is the difference between hospitality and tolerance? And being hospitable, it sounds like you're welcoming a guest. And I always think the word tolerance is a little bit misguided sometimes, because you think if you're not racist, well, we're very tolerant, aren't we? We're such a tolerant society. We tolerate black people. We tolerate minority religions. It's a very sort of negative connotation. Shouldn't we be welcoming of people of different beliefs, colours and nationalities? And we've got Afsad saying, how come no one in that church came out? Well, I assume there was no one inside. Are you suggesting, Afzad, that if the church is empty, they deserve to have vandalism committed against it? There was a time when they used to say that the door of the church is always open. And if you go to rural areas or quiet places in other countries, and you will find that the door to the church is open, and you can pop in and have a little quiet moment, and it's wonderfully spiritual and tranquil. And we've got a comment saying the pastor doesn't always live in the church. And Celtic Crusader saying there's no Christians left in Chadwell Heath. Well, there's a church there. I don't think the fact that there didn't happen to be anyone there at the time means that they've got absolutely zero congregation. But it is sad that churches have to lock their doors. And it's even sadder that men of the cloth, who have always been someone that you can go to seek refuge with, some of them have been murdered because nutcases have ended up going to the church because they've had, so I shouldn't use that language, people with severe mental health issues that the system has failed, have ended up murdering priests or clergymen because the church will always welcome someone in, like Jesus said in his story of the Good Samaritan. And I feel for these people who it's very sad when someone's innocence is taken advantage of. That's why I think we feel for animals when animals are abused, because animals are innocent. And people that work in the church, men of the cloth, people that have taken a vow, are, you would hope, very decent, pious people. There are, of course, exceptions, and there were a hell of a lot of exceptions in the Catholic Church, and recently it came to light even in the Anglican Church that there were people abusing the power, the trust that people had given them. And maybe that's why these stories hit the headlines as well, because when someone like that, who's meant to be a pillar of the community, turns out to be something else beginning with P, we all feel really disgusted and let down, but there's rotten apples in every basket. Bob the Builder is graciously saying thank you for drawing attention to this. Thank you for joining in the discussion, Bob. You know, we must reason together. I think that's what the Bible says as well. And Prosperous Mind is rather pessimistically saying that Christianity is finished in the West. Well, it started in the East. I don't think it's finished in the West. I hope that there will always be decent Christian people like Bob, a friendlier chap you couldn't find. And Sing Pan, number 1, is telling everybody the man speaking is a agent. Thanks, Sing Pan. I better go. They're on to me. This has, agent for whom? That's a question from 33X. Look, people like to say things on the comments, don't they? AJ saying Christianity has gone from the Middle East. It's not gone. I was in Malula just under a year ago in the town of Syria, where they speak the language of Jesus. I visited the church. I heard the Lord's Prayer uttered in the Aramaic language. It was a beautiful moment. The original words that would have been spoken from the tongue of Jesus. So it is alive. in the Middle East, but I do worry about the Christians of the Middle East. I do worry about the Christians in Syria under the threat of Takfiri fanatics, the likes of ISIS and the other alphabet soup of radicals there that are trying to overthrow a secular Arab nationalist government. Bob the Builder is saying the doom merchants in the chat will beat themselves long before the Islamists do. Interesting. Christianity operates from hope. Yeah. What is it? Faith, hope, and charity, and the greatest of this is hope. Yet again, I do this show without any notes, so I'm probably getting things wrong, but you get the point. Prosperous Mind is saying Christianity is more alive in the Middle East than it is in the West. Well, this is the thing, and in walking up the streets of secular Syria, where officially the country is non-religious, but everybody is spiritual, and it's the literalist fanatics, the hordes sweeping in through the border that Erdogan just opened the door for. They are the literalists that are going to destroy any form of spirituality in Syria. The Sufi Muslims, the Orthodox Christians, the Catholic Christians, the Chaldean Christians, the Armenian Christians, they will all be at risk if these hordes get their way. And that's why Syria clung on to the idea of an Arab nationalist ruler, dictator in the form of Bashar al-Assad, because every minority, including your average secular Sunni Muslim, was terrified of the alternative, and they looked into the abyss. And Bob the Builder is saying something that he's said before to me, that Christians of the Middle East need their own country. I think that would be capitulating, and the system in Lebanon, which ensured a Christian Muslim prime minister, Christian president, and a Shia Muslim speaker of the parliament, the factionalism in Lebanon, I understand why it's there, and Lebanon would have been a Christian country had the demographics not changed, and the French carved it out of Syria. It would have been part of Syria. The French carved it out of Syria to be a Christian country, and it didn't quite work because of things that happened. Bob the Builder says, debate you on it. You probably beat me hands down, Bob. I think you would make better points than I would make, and you've probably researched it much better than me. I know that's a cop-out and a tap-out, but it's my optimism. And sad, if you are right, and that is the answer, that Christians need their own country in the Middle East, that will make me very sad. So maybe it's not that I don't think it's true. It's, as often, we're led with our heart, and I don't want it to be true. And I believe we live in a world that we can change, and we can push for acceptance, and we can push for, I don't want to use the word tolerance because I said I didn't like it. And 33X is making silly comments. Thank you for that. Bob the Builder is saying nationalism is idolatry. We worship God, not the state. Interesting. And Sergio Leone is saying Bob is a muscular Christian. Nationalist required. Yeah, muscular Christianity. That's a term I haven't heard for a long time. And 33X is saying, why is Bob the Builder not calling? Because I haven't given the number out tonight, because tonight I just wanted to do a little bit of a monologue, and I've done it. This has been Lessons for Life. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please check out Bob's channel. He says, or check out his debates in Speaker's Corner. He always holds himself very well. And he says, I will let you. It is the only real answer to save the persecuted church. May we all stand up for persecuted people everywhere and speak out against persecution. This has been Lessons for Life. Thank you for watching me. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening, and we'll do it all again soon. We were here. We're gone. Latest. Thank you and good night from Jamal Samiev.